Great defeaters, new and old. Welcome back to what I imagine is going to be a very, very, very spicy episode of the breakdown with your host, BaseDaKID, Tony, the pugilist boy. We are the children of the game. Now, before we start, I just want to say apologies for us being just a couple minutes late, but both Tony and myself, we had to feed our bodies, had to get that nourishment inside of us. So we were literally watching each other eat. You probably don't care, but food after yam, as we say. Tony, how's your weekend been?
Oh, brother, welcome once again to the breakdown. I am very well. Had a lovely weekend. I think it's one of the last weekends of sun, but it was great to be amongst the family and friends. And also, we had some good boxing action. So setting it off was nice.
Okay, so no talk of football this weekend, no?
Ooh, I was wondering whether you might mention.
I mean, because all the other weekends you've been like, my team's done great and blah blah blah.
Yeah,
but you didn't want to lead off on that this weekend, no?
My team is still top of the league, so I gotta be ecstatic. I can be nothing else but. So it is what it is.
Cool. Right, let's say hello to the chat then. See who's been permeating down there.
So big up early doors. Normally it's Muller at the top, but we actually had Fight Fan Danny in the house. Big up Dan. Hope you're well, my friend. Muller is of course right behind him. Jay Lands, welcome, bro. Uncle Jonah, Mr. A, Esoteric Being, Tariq Mirza. Good evening, sir. Not seen that name before. Or have I? Can't remember. Untraceable Don, what's up, bro? So yeah, welcome people. We are ready to get in amongst it. Jazz, what's up? It's been one busy weekend of gone and another busy one to come. Where do we start?
I guess we might as well do it in order. So let's start from the UK card.
Okay, so we're gonna start with the one that I actually have some pictures. I didn't get any video from this weekend's UK card. I did actually. I've got one little snippet. But we're going to start off with the fight that I thought would be the one that was most important, and that was Dan Azeez against Shakan Peters. Not that the Liam Smith fight wasn't as important, but in the great sort of balance of things that we looked at this weekend, that fight was very much down the pecking order. So I'll let you get in amongst this.
So, I mean, this fight pretty much played out as I said it would. It was all about Dan having to basically find his way inside the range of Shakan Peters. Shakan, who at the height of 6'6", does not really use his height that well in any sort of fight. He very much hunkers down and crouches down. In the first round, because I did actually have to watch the first 3 rounds back because I saw it from the third initially. I saw that he was working basically. So Dan was having to try and find his way in. Shakan was working the jab quite well, and he was being very clever with the uppercut, and that was causing Dan some problems in the sort of initial first phase of the fight. But after a while, Dan, as he normally does with that springboard corkscrew jab that he manages to throw out there, was able to get himself into range quite often. He was working the body quite nicely to those little short, sharp uppercuts that he likes to sort of throw on the inside, mixing that with the left hook. They're never sort of like the most powerful shots, but he gives them just enough oomph on them just to sort of wear his opponent down. And I felt that was a good game plan, and he basically just kind of outworked Shakan. And after a while, he started sort of timing that uppercut on the way in, just making sure that his gloves were in the right position to block it, and then sort of still coming in and just making Shakan have to back off and work his way on the back foot, which isn't something that he is probably used to doing as much. I predicted it was going to go points because I felt that he wouldn't be able to really get the necessary damage in on Shakan until towards later in the fight, and he'd be able to sort of ride it out. And ultimately, that is kind of how it worked, because those first few rounds were very much they were sort of Shakan just trying to find his way in. But yeah, overall, it was a nice little bout. Wasn't either guy's greatest performance, but both guys did very well. But Dan just showed that he is still a level above Shakan, and Shakan's got to go back and decide what's next for him, basically.
Indeed. So pretty much you nailed it in terms of what happened in the fight. There's nothing much I can say. Interesting comment from Untraceable Don about Shakan and his power, because it seems to me that Shakan suffers for a lack of power. He's got such long limbs that he's not able to generate the power necessary to keep really strong light heavyweights off of him. Obviously, we saw that to classic effect against Craig Richards, and then Dan was able to just walk him down and get inside when he wanted to. You know, Shakan's decent boxer, but he doesn't. He still hasn't worked out how to use his length to its maximum. You said it perfectly. You know, he fights down, and you know, I hope he learns from that and comes back, because you know I still think he can come again. So one of the things that I want to mention, other than the result, which was, as we both predicted, a win for Dan Azeez, was a certain man at ringside, Mr. Ben Whittaker, who was somewhat yawning as he watched the fight. I mean, it wasn't the greatest of fights, but it just about did enough to keep your interest for the entire 12 rounds. What's your thoughts on Ben Whittaker?
What, him yawning? I mean, he said he just come off
taking a shot at potentially having a shot at Dan Azeez's British title in the next 4 or 5 fights, let's say.
I mean, it's possible 4 or 5 fights. He's an Olympic silver medalist. You know, argument could have been made. Possibly he could have got the gold. Which means that he's fought a lot of styles in the past. It all depends on the amount of not even the amount of fights, but what fights he has. I mean, if you look at his second fight, for instance, he was fighting an undefeated fighter. Yeah, it was someone obviously that he'd had a fight with in the amateurs, who he'd beaten the amateurs, but the guy was still undefeated. If you keep him on a trajectory very similar to that, whereby you have you know, you almost have him fighting guys that are credible or like really experienced sort of journeymen that don't get put down, that can go the rounds, that will give their all in every, you know, every time they get out there, then there is no way that he wouldn't be ready for maybe a British title fight in 6 or 7 fights from now as a 8-0 prospect. So it doesn't really seem too far-fetched to me. Just about the level of activity and the level of opponent that you put him in against. So yeah, I mean, outside of that, I mean, him yawning and stuff, I mean, look, he said it was coming, you know, coming back from from Saudi. He was tired and everything. So yeah, overall, it wasn't about him. He didn't, and to be fair, he didn't make it about him either. Like, it was about the 2 guys in the ring. I was not happy that they were the opening fight on the show. I did make my feelings clear about that on Twitter, because as I had said prior to a couple days before the actual event itself, Adam Azeem did have an opponent, to be fair, but Frazier Clark didn't. Frazier Clark was on a TBA. You know, he was fighting TBA until like Wednesday, just gone, but yet somehow he's like 3rd from last on the card. I didn't think that was right. I thought they should have showed more respect to the British title, but I mean, you know, it's not my broadcast, I suppose. And maybe Frazier Clark they're going to look at him as the new golden child, and maybe he's going to get that Campbell Hatton treatment, where you just get the favorable slots you maybe don't deserve at this point. But who knows?
Yeah. So yeah, interesting. We shall see how Ben Whittaker gets on. If we look in the
By the way, I
chat,
want to shout out Becca because I didn't say hey when you put her up. What's up, Becca?
yeah,
Hope you're
yeah.
doing
Hi
good.
Becca, thanks for joining us. Big up G Chain in the house. Big up Sufami Dan. It was a one-sided boxing lesson. Sufami Dan says. I don't think it was
Wouldn't go
totally
that far.
one-sided. No. But yeah, there's no doubt in my mind that that Ben was the winner. The only other action I have from that card was a very quick clip of Adam Azeem, which I will show. Most of the other undercard fights weren't great, with the exception. Sorry, I need to get to the Natasha Jonas fight, wasn't it? Is the
Yeah,
other
that
fight
was the
that
only
was
one worth talking
that
about apart
worth
from Dan
talking
and
about.
Shaq.
Yeah. So go ahead, talk. I've got nothing on that one. So give us your
That's cool.
rundown of that particular
Yeah,
fight.
so with that fight, I knew it was going to be like a more difficult fight for Tash. Obviously, again, coming up against a naturally bigger person, someone who actually had a camp for this fight, someone that was, an undefeated champion of their own, wasn't coming to lay down. The only thing that the only reason I always knew that Natasha was going to win that was just because um, Patricia Bagul just doesn't have the power to command Natasha's respect. So her being the bigger guy wouldn't have been that much of an issue because she would have still been looking to sort of get in on the inside and to like basically just see if she could swing it out and be first to the punch. Because being a naturally smaller girl with slightly smaller arms, she would have got to the target before Patricia did. And clearly, with having the much higher knockout percentage, you would know that she would hit harder, more naturally than Patricia. And the first few rounds, she had to work her way onto the inside. She actually looked kind of labored in the first couple rounds. I was wondering if maybe she was maybe like a little bit weight heavy, like weight drawn. She looked a little languid. She didn't really wasn't moving as fluid as I've normally seen her. But that quickly sort of dissipated from about round three once she was able to sort of find her distance and just find her a sweet spot for Patricia. Credit to her though, she stayed on her feet. She took some heavy shots. Didn't go down. She was doing quite well to negate the southpaw stance in the first few rounds, keeping her foot closer on the outside, sort of staying further back and using her range to sort of try and push off the jab. It was very technical to start off with, then ended up in a bit of a brawl afterwards, which was all good for the public watching. But yeah, Natasha did more than enough to win. I had it. I didn't really score it, but I looked at it and saw it was maybe like a 7-3 type fight. But I did say on my prediction video, don't be surprised if you see 99, 91 scorecards. And we saw two of those and then 100 to 90. And even Natasha was like, well, I thought I lost a couple of those rounds. So even she didn't agree with the cards. But that's what we're used to seeing. So there's not really much else I could say about it. But overall, it was a pretty good fight, and it was a good performance in the end from Natasha. Hopefully, she gets now hopefully she can get another unification afterwards, depending on what happens with either Terry Harper and Hannah Rankin, or possibly the Marie-Eve Dicaire fight, which should be another easy one to make. That would be a much harder fight in terms of being able to pin down her opponent, because Marie-Eve Dicaire is a very good mover. The only thing with her is she has absolutely no power. Even the one knockout that she's actually got on her record, it was almost like a false knockout because the girl wasn't any great shakes at all. However, if her and Natasha get in the ring, Natasha will literally walk her down. She won't even worry about the power. She doesn't hit hard enough at all. So she literally would just have to box on her toes. But that's for a whole nother time if that fight happens. But she's got options, which is the main thing. So yeah, good win for
Yeah,
Natasha.
good win for Natasha. I think when she steps up to higher level competition, the thing that will be her downfall will be that she doesn't throw her hands fast enough. Because what I find, and looking at that fight this weekend, I found that she often ends up falling into her work. She's a little bit slow getting on the end of her punch. So she's getting the short, she's having to throw shots by the time they're halfway, they're connecting. Whereas what you want to be able to do is connect on the end of your shot, yeah, and maximize your power. She hasn't got that natural speed of punch. There are some boxers out there who around her have a naturally faster punch rate. Yeah, she works hard. She throws in bunches, but what I notice is she's neither fleet of foot or speed of hands, but she does enough. She does carry power, which sometimes knocks out the opposition's willingness to engage. But I do think that down the line, and I think looking by her loss in the past, I think it's the speed of hands and speed of feet, which she doesn't naturally carry. But hey, well done, Natasha. The Jonas family marches on, and I noticed yesterday, I think it was her sister who plays football
for Man United,
for Man United, Nikita Paris, got her debut. So look, that's a very talented family, and she got a brother or something that is a professional athlete.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very talented family. So we move on. Just going to address this comment by Ronin Sevens. Looks like Adam Azeez might have a higher ceiling than Amir Khan, but we need to see the usuals going the full 12 and taking a flush hard shot and also getting hurt or dropped. He got some big boots to fill if he thinks he's going to follow in the boots of Amir Khan. I mean, that guy's resume is ridiculously good. But hey, if he gets there, we'll all be very happy. He will have done an amazing thing in the sport of boxing if he can match the accomplishments of Naseem. Of course, he's already minus the fact that he didn't perform in an Olympics like Naseem did. But
you mean Amir?
Amir, sorry, like Amir did. But yeah, let's see how he gets on as a pro. Who else was on that bill? So you did mention Fraser Clark. The less said about that opponent, the better. The Liam
It's just
Smith
and Moquinho. That's it.
Yeah, the Smith fight was farcical. I think you and I were probably swapping some commentary in our WhatsApp group at the time of the fight. And I think there came a point when I went, I smell upset, because Moquinho was levering Smith. He was throwing some lovely wide uppercuts. I mean, a lot of the shots were wide, but they were connecting. And I was thinking to myself, well, if he's going to come out and actually take the fight to Smith the way he's shown in a couple of rounds, then we might have an upset on the cards here. But then the first knockdown, which wasn't a knockdown, looked like just a slip, or my man just decided I'm taking a knee. I'm not really sure what happened, but it just seemed weird. But I'm thinking to myself, okay, comes back out, starts up again on the offensive. And I'm thinking, yeah, he can do something here. But it just wasn't to be. He once again went down. What didn't look like a damaging shot by Liam Smith. And then before you knew it, he was getting counted out by the referee. And I was just in uproar. I was like, what the hell have I just watched? It's been a weird weekend. We've seen VAR do all kind of stupidness. And that fight to me was like, oh no, not again. Why is my weekend sport being upset by officiating?
You leave VAR alone.
You know what I'm talking about.
VAR is fine.
Yeah, you would say that. Fergie time. Liam Smith, he was the beneficiary of Fergie time. But yeah, no, it just looked completely strange. I was completely flummoxed by the decision to stop the fight without a conversation. You know, it's just, I just still to this day, I'm not really sure what exactly happened. But you know, there was commentary at the end of the fight by Liam talking about their sparring and the fact that Maquinho was a quitter in sparring. I don't know how that had an impact on the fight. Maybe my man just thought, you know what, I've done enough to take my bag home for the night and I'm out. What was your feelings?
Um, I mean, I can't really speak much about the fight itself, the 4 rounds it went. Although, again, if you go to the preview video, I pretty much said that Maquinho would would be hitting him because Smith gets hit in a lot of his fights. He got hit against Jesse Vargas a lot. He takes the shots and he tucks up, but you need to not get hit and you need to have a better defense and give your scar tissue a chance to breathe. Because the first thing I said is if another cut opens up, then that's going to be issues. With regards to the way it ended, I mean, look, I am in agreement with you, but I think what they've basically said about Maquinho is he's a kind of guy that if he doesn't visibly either knock you down or like really hurt you in the first 2 rounds, he's just got that kind of thing in him where it's like, oh, okay, so you're not gonna go anywhere. It's gonna take too much effort for me to now have to try and go through the gears or go through the rounds, and I don't. And if you're still coming forward, oh, okay, no, this is long. This isn't gonna be what I want. And apparently that's what he's like. He'll throw the kitchen sink at you, and if you're still standing there, he's had enough. He doesn't want it again. I do think he did twist his ankle the first time he went down, or it looked like he did slip. The other two, I mean, I don't know. Although one thing I will say is I know some people said that, oh, Smith was hitting him when he was down, so he should be like, so maybe that should have been a disqualification or something along those lines. But both times that he dropped down, he actually he dropped in like a squat position. So like his knee was never touching the floor, his bum wasn't touching the floor, so he was still technically on his feet. So he did actually have the right to still carry on hitting him at that point. But yeah, look, I mean, it's not really much we can debate about. We had the we had what it was. Smith was getting himself lit up. He doesn't want to be going up to 160 and taking shots like that without tightening up his defense. Walking down those guys is going to be a lot more of a dangerous proposition. So yeah, I mean, yeah, they call him beefy. He's good at taking those beefy shots, but he can't take those forever. He's getting older now, so you're on mute.
Sorry, G Chain says I respect all boxers, but let's keep it 100. He quit, fam. Fight fan Danny says Smith hit him on the floor because the guy punched him at the end of the round previous after the bell on purpose. I mean, it's handbags, Yeah, he got hit after the bell, and yes, he gets slightly hit on the way down. It is what it is, I'm not. This is boxing, Foul play is gonna take place. What we couldn't account for is the way the fight ends. If a guy gets hit in the crutch, it happens in boxing. If a man stamps on your tongue, it happens in boxing. If you get hit, buddy, it happens in boxing. Boxing is a physical sport which is open to the elements, dark arts included. It is all part and parcel of the sport, just like VAR in football. We just got to live with them things. There's not a lot we can do, but in this situation, it just seemed a little bit weird. Anyway, let's move on from that. Reese Jones says Yanni Beck next for Liam Smith. That would be a good fight.
No, Liam Smith does not want those problems. That's a weight class above. That's a guy that punches way too hard for you to be having as leaky a defense as you've got. Nah, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want it.
Technically not a weight class above, though. A
How
bigger
is he not?
guy, I get that.
He's at 160. Yanni Beck's 160. Liam Smith's
But so is Liam
154.
Smith.
No,
What
he's
Liam Smith's-
154. He's 154.
Is he?
Yeah.
I thought he went up. I thought he was once. Okay. You sure?
Yes.
Nah, he's okay. Okay. My bad.
Check it. You've got your phone or your laptop
Yeah,
there. Check it.
I will. Ronin
He
7
wants to
says
go up
Yanni
for the
Beck
Chris
would KO
Eubank
Smith
fight, but that's
easily
it.
anyway. Yanni
Yeah,
Beck's a beast.
Yanni Beck would
Beck's
destroy
a
him.
beast. Yeah, he's a beast.
Too fresh.
Okay, so that concludes, I think, most of the action from that was talkable from the London card. The Manchester card, Liverpool card. The next fight action on the Saturday night came from Mexico. Was headlined by one Estrada against Cortez.
Argy Cortez, yep.
Argy Cortez. Let's go into that one. I have got some action from that fight. Let's see.
I'm actually watching it now as we're talking.
While that goes on, you give us your rundown. There's a minute and a bit of action here for you to talk over. So,
well, I haven't. The thing is, I watched the majority of the fight. I didn't actually watch all of it, so I'm actually watching it now as we're actually on air. What I can say is that Cortez came a lot better than advertised, and Estrada came a lot worse than advertised. You can tell that he's been out of the ring for nearly 20 months. Not 20, sorry, 16 months. He just didn't look. He didn't really look fresh. He had the supposed 2 bouts of COVID. He just looked sort of very slow, lethargic. But RG kept him on the edge, on the end of a solid jab for the majority of the rounds. Obviously, Estrada had enough good head movement to be able to kind of get in on the inside enough times, and sometimes walk Argy down when he was trying to take a break from pumping out his shots. I mean, Estrada, I maybe did enough to kind of get the victory, but it was a very poor performance. And if he fights anything like that in that Chocolatito fight that's supposed to take place on the 3rd of December, he is going to be stopped. But I don't even think that fight will. I'm not sure that fight will take place then, purely because this was obviously supposed to be a comeback fight, but I don't think they expected him to do 12 hard rounds. So do they really want to have such a quick turnover after such a hard fight in this day and age? You know, this isn't the 70s or the 80s. So I don't know.
And it's not even at the end of December. It's at the start of December. So you're pretty much saying, I got to take a week off and get back into camp to make the 3rd of December. So, that date does look pretty unreasonable.
I mean, like I said, if obviously they wasn't expecting Argy to be this difficult a fight, but I mean, it worked for the fight fans. Mexico is, doing what Mexico does. But again, as I said, if Estrada performs anything close like that, Chocolatito's taking him out. He's taking vengeance for being screwed in that second fight.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this was shoddy work by Estrada in certain parts because he allowed Cortez to dominate him. I mean, I've got to take my hat off to the kid Cortez. He actually brought the action. He was throwing combinations. This was actually a really good fight card because on the undercard of this, I'm going to talk about it after, is an absolute humdinger of a fight. But this particular fight, it had a knockdown. It had close in action. Those guys were ripping some shots into each other. And you're right, Estrada just gets hit way too easily. Cortez, if he's heavy-handed, Estrada's in trouble. And that is, as you said, he can't bring that performance to Chocolatito because that's night-night, seriously. But But yeah, great fight. Really enjoyed it. Take your time and watch that fight because it is a very entertaining fight. Guys in the chat, let's see who's got that. Fight man says agreed. I think this is in relation to this point. Right. So the other fight that was on that bill that is worthy of praise is the brings it up. Flores Nishinga. Did you get to see that at all?
Yeah, I've seen that fight.
That fight was one hell of a fight. Fought at 108. The two guys literally just kept swapping in terms of who was dominating the fight. Nishinga appears to have the harder punch, but Flores just wouldn't let him rest. So I'm going to play the minute of action that I've got, and you can give us your rundown.
Well, I mean, similar to what you said. I mean, first things first, Nishinga, I feel, did do enough to win this fight. He was able to sort of slip and roll a lot of Flores's punches quite a lot. A lot of the fight was fought in the booth, in the pocket. There was very little, sometimes any type of actual boxing work came from Nishinga. He was letting the jab fly as much as he could, trying to set up the 1-2, the textbook 1-2. But ultimately, it was just fought in the phone booth. It was wide hooks, it was tight hooks, it was uppercuts. It was just pretty much an all action fight. Even when the two of them looked out on their feet, they were still just swinging, maybe with a lot less power, but they was both doing their job. And it's even more of a testament to Nishinga, because I think he had some kind of food poisoning or a stomach bug prior to the fight, which hampered his performance, and somehow he still managed to grit it out. We had reports of him throwing up several times after the bout, having to go to hospital. I think they said they had a slight bit of dehydration as well. So he'd done all of that, yet still managed to eke out the victory on away soil as well. So that definitely has to be commended, because you don't expect to get the favorable scorecard in the other guy's backyard like that.
Yeah. I mean, the one thing I would say in terms of that throwing up situation is this fight probably had the most body shots I have probably seen in a fight. I mean, it was literally body sparring for good lengths of the bout. They weren't in any way headhunting. They were like, you know what? I'm just gonna punish you to the body. And between the two of them, they threw so many body shots. It was a testament to the training that the two guys have done. As you said, if Nishinga has any kind of ailment before and goes into that not quite up to par, then my hat goes off to him even more. But I can understand the dehydration, because they fought a full-blooded battle for 12 rounds. And I can understand why probably both of them end up in hospital, because what's the other guy's name?
Flores.
He received quite a bad injury to his head. Probably going to go and need a couple of stitches on that. So yeah, I mean, an amazing fight. Big up JC in the house. If you haven't watched that fight, guys, go watch it, because it was a very entertaining fight. Were there any other fights on that card that you wanted to mention?
I mean, you could talk about Erica Cruz and Jelena Majanovic, the rematch. The reason that fight is obviously significant is because Amanda Serrano is taking on Sarah Mahfoud in 2 weeks' time or 3 weeks' time in Manchester. And Erica basically has the last piece of the featherweight crown. So that's a unification. And if Amanda Serrano wins, she'll have 3 belts, or Mahfoud will have 3 belts if she wins. And then Erica Cruz is the last piece to undisputed. So she had a rematch with Majanovic. The first fight, ended in a technical decision because Marjanovic got hit with an accidental headbutt, which busted her open, and the referee decided she was in no fit state to continue. So they went to the scorecards, and I think she ended up losing. I think it was 5-2 on the cards at the time. Fun fact is that she was, prior to this weekend, was 3-0 in rematches. But yeah, overall, just Erica Cruz's overall pace, her awkwardness. She's a southpaw, but she's a southpaw brawler. So there's literally like no working behind the jab, trying to set punches up. She just wings them in. Winging them in from that angle was just something that Jelena Marjanovic couldn't really adjust to. And it was just a case of, again, she got overwhelmed. She was never in danger really of being stopped, even though she did get hit with a couple of hard shots, but she'd never been stopped in her career. Extremely tough. She did as best as she could. But being sort of 40 as she is, fighting, I think Erica's like 31, so the age wasn't on her side. She's been in a lot of wars. She's had I think it was just under 55 fights at that time. So she's been through many cycles at this point. And yeah, Father Time was just kind of catching up. And yeah, she just couldn't keep the younger, more relentless girl off of her. And she got the defeat again. So Erica moves forward. She says that she's not actually looking for the unification fight next. She wants Nina Menke, but then she said maybe she can look at Serrano after that. So yeah, we'll see.
Indeed. So that leads us on to the Sunday card, which was headlined by Luis Ortiz against Andy Ruiz Jr. I have a bit of the action here, and so if you want to give us your lowdown on this while I got 2 minutes of action. Here you go.
All right, so essentially this fight was one guy coming off of an extreme layoff. Andy Ruiz has been out of the ring, I think, since March or May. I think it was May of last year. And Luis Ortiz obviously had his last fight in January. What was telling sort of in the first hour is both guys were cautious of the other guy's power initially, because they both come with reputations. Especially Ortiz has more of a reputation of a puncher than Andy does in terms of the amount of knockouts. And Andy was having trouble sort of trying to adjust to that southpaw stance. He's not really fought that many of them, and him being much shorter and having his right hand having to travel a lot further than it normally does, I feel was affecting his entrance way onto the inside. But what he's obviously very good at doing, and he's a natural counter puncher, so a lot of the time he was just waiting for Ortiz to shift his body into range to try and go and bring his backhand into action. And as soon as Andy kind of caught the timing of the backhand, that's basically when we saw in the second round, where Andy obviously managed to get his foot on the inside and drop Ortiz, as you just saw there. That was the first one. Second one, I don't think should have been called a knockdown. No punches landed. It was just he kind of was off balance. But I guess the ref decided to call it. Ultimately, again, Andy pretty much got pieced up a lot after that. When he rushed in, he got caught with a couple of left hands that made him think, okay, I can't do that again. And the fight became very cautious because of it. He was definitely just looking to pick his shots, and I won't say he got lucky, but he managed to catch Ortiz unaware back in the 8th round, when they're both on the inside. And then all of a sudden, similar to what Lomachenko did to Richard Comey last year, it was a very quick bang. It was a quick shot over the top, equilibrium shot. Ortiz went straight back down again, but he got back up and he did win quite a few of the rounds. So it was a competitive fight between the two of them, but it wasn't a great advertisement for either of them potentially having any type of world championship aspirations. But having said that, I mean, look, Andy always seems to be better when he's active. If we look obviously from the Dimitrenko fight then having the AJ fight 5 weeks later, and in his previous bouts when he was with Top Rank, just being there quick, sort of the quick turnarounds work better for him. When he's out of the ring for long periods of time, it doesn't suit him. Hopefully he doesn't have another long layoff after this, but that does seem to be a very PBC type trait, so that could be a problem. But yeah, I mean, both will be in fun fights, but in terms of them being on their way back to the top of any cards and the top of the division, I can't really see it. You're muted.
Yeah, I mean, it's really weird because I looked at Andy weighing in and I thought to myself, he actually looks not bad. But then I heard the weight and I was like, 268. That's more than he was for Areola. And
Yeah.
it kind of dawned on me that, you know what? He's looking in better shape, but is he actually in better shape? Is it just is something not quite marrying in terms of what he's doing in the gym to keep himself
Well, he was
in shape,
268
fitness?
against Joshua in the first fight.
Yeah.
And when he went to 256 against Areola, he had no punch resistance. So maybe to him, he feels like he needs to be bigger to absorb the shots better from the bigger guys.
Yeah. So it's an interesting one. I noticed a couple of people noticed the OnlyFans sponsorship on his shorts. I was kind of perplexed by that as well, I must admit.
But you know what? I've heard, right, that OnlyFans basically are trying to get many sponsorships with like boxers and other types of athletes because they want to diversify the type of content that is on their platform. They don't want it to just be an adult channel type subscription. They want it to be more of a multifaceted platform with different types of subscribers coming through. That's what they've said. So a lot of athletes have now got it, and they're supplying exclusive content to maybe training camps or old sparring footage or videos that people haven't seen before. And if I remember, someone like what's her name, Nicki Minaj had an OnlyFans account where she just showed her fans a lot more behind the scenes footage from video shoots or tour dates that they wouldn't have seen otherwise. So
yeah. Wow. So look, you've just educated me on OnlyFans. I have no idea about what they do on there apart from the scantily clad ladies who like to show the punani for a bit of bread. But yeah, I mean, if that's the way they're going, so be it. I mean, who am I to stand in the way of progress? I mean, one doesn't have to look far to see that, Playboy back in the day, they used to sponsor everybody. The Playboy brand basically became an household name because it was associated with everything. They would be on the bus, they would be on the train, they would be in your magazine, they would be in the fight. You know what I mean? Hugh Hefner was a massive boxing fan, so there was no doubt he would put his name behind anything. And I know there were boxers who had the Playboy brand as a logo, and of course I know Floyd has no shame in promoting his girls. What's it called? Girls Collection.
No, it's called
And it called Girls Collection.
I don't think it's Girls Collection. It's Girls something.
I'm sure it's Girl Collection.
I know Danny will know.
Yeah. What are you trying to say about my boy?
No, because he knows everything about Floyd. It might be Girl Collection. It doesn't sound right.
Collection. But yeah, so that's obviously a new thing that you've explained quite eloquently about. It'd be interesting to see how that goes. Do I have to now start opening up an OnlyFans account in order to see some of this must be seen behind the curtain footage of some of my best fighters? Who knows? So I mean, performance-wise, in terms of Andy Ruiz, not a great performance because ultimately, without the knockdowns, he loses the fight. And that is why last week I called this an upset. I saw Luis Ortiz beating Andy Ruiz. I didn't see Ortiz dropping 3 times. You know, I could probably see once, but I didn't think Andy could take him out, and I certainly didn't see it being 3 times. So my prediction would have been right had he never dropped the 3 times.
Yeah, but who got it right, me or you?
All right. But where does that leave, Andy? I mean, obviously, this is part 1 of a 3-part series by PBC. Obviously, Deontay Wilder fights Robert Helenius in October, with the winner touted to fight the winner of Ruiz Ortiz. I'm not sure is the answer to that. Obviously, that becomes a bit of a problem for Andy Ruiz, if you ask me.
Possibly.
Travis, welcome to the chat, my friend. He must have hydrated to like 275 on the night too. He's not serious at all. His conditioning is ass. I mean, I kind of want to bounce back on that, Trav, only because he's boxing in the 12th round. If his conditioning is ass, then he's still throwing more shots than Joshua did in his 12th round. So what does that tell you about Joshua's conditioning? Robert Broney says he agrees with you, Base, in that Andy's punch resistance looks better this fight. OnlyFans is trying to rebrand from porn, but it's wild. Nobody joining OnlyFans for boxing, bro. I would if they're going to give me behind the scenes content. Welcome in Skyliner Shamel. That's just what guys tell their wives. Andy got that 15 million from AJ's fights and just can't get motivated anymore, bruv. Again, I like to think that Andy isn't done with the sport because he's now got a bag load of money hanging around. Because I tend to think if you got the money and he has got some money, go enjoy your retirement. Go, walk away. I made the bread. Enjoy your life. Why am I coming back to boxing? If he's literally just doing it because he's got nothing better to do, then that is no reason to box. Absolutely no reason to box. And I'm telling you now, as a ex-boxer, nobody does it just because I ain't got nothing better to do. All right, unless you're Floyd Mayweather, of course. So let's see. Travis confirms it is Girl Collection.
And so did Danny.
G-Chain says Base seems to have hella info about OnlyFans.
Well, I heard over the weekend. I got the inside track.
Okay. Different meaning to bums on seats. Right. JC says he would roll with Brazer's sponsorship.
Brazzers.
Oh, you see, my man knows too much,
No, I think everyone knows Brazzers, bro. Everybody knows Brazzers.
I didn't even know. I thought it was Brazers. All right, whatever. Certain man there, yeah. James Douglas, welcome in the chat. Helenia's about to take that dive. Okay. Joshua and Ruiz have different body types. They do. And it's, you got to say, Ruiz carries his body weight better than Joshua does because his engine shows to be better. Travis says, AJ isn't the barometer for all fighters. Ruiz looks crazy, but if it works for him, then hey, congrats. But his feet are ridiculously slow.
I would disagree with that.
I would too.
He's quite quick. The difference is he inches forward because obviously being the smaller guy, he's trying to make the other person commit to his shots. But when he jumps back, he manages to evade a lot of shots. His feet, I'm not saying they're the fastest, but they're actually quite quick for him being such a big guy. So I would disagree with that, Trav.
Yeah. I would also disagree with that, and I think we're going to see some of the action so that we can actually make a live assessment on the footwork of Andy Ruiz. You know, look, he's on his toes. You know, look how nimble he looks on his feet. You know, I would love for AJ to box on his toes like that. He obviously did to somewhat against Ruiz in the rematch, but you know, I think Ruiz is definitely more fleet of foot than AJ is, and I wouldn't say that it's bad footwork. You know, he's
I would
fighting a
almost say that
southpaw
his
here.
footwork is slightly quicker than Ortiz's in this. I mean, okay,
Yeah.
Ortiz is an older man, but yeah.
So yeah, interesting. Let's go back and finish that off. So that's our rundown of that particular fight. Got any more to say on that one?
No, I mean
No,
the right
good.
person won.
Yeah.
Barely, because if the knockdowns didn't actually happen, it would have been a majority draw. Imagine that.
Mm.
But yeah, overall the right person won, and that sets up one half of the final that they're going to be partaking in. So all good.
Yeah. On the undercard was Isaac Cruz against Ramirez, Eduardo Ramirez. This was light work for Isaac. He comes out and he just does what Isaac Cruz does. You know, look at that hook. My man saw that hook, miss, and went, nah, I'm out. I'm done. Take that, I'm done. Oh, I missed that one. He's already dropping down and man's not even hitting him. But yeah, okay, I'll take that. I'll call that a night, ref. Thank you very much. So yeah, Isaac Cruz now looking for the next step. Been calling out Javante, been calling out Ryan Garcia. Where do you see him next, my brother?
I see him on another undercard fighting another undercard fighter.
You're not giving
I
my
don't
guy a
think
shot.
I don't think Javante Davis is gonna take that fight, to be honest. Not for now, if he does. Um, just because of how difficult it was the last time. And obviously he said he wants Devin Haney. Devin Haney, he's not gonna get a shot with Devin Haney because he's currently on top rank at the minute. And as soon as that's over, he looks like he's going to be going to 140, so he's not going to stick around to fight Cruz.
Mm.
Um, maybe I can see Robert Broney in there saying Cruz versus Rowley. That might be an interesting fight. Um, Rowley would have to get a win first before that takes place. But yeah, maybe like he'll be on another undercard of a big event, and then maybe they'll be able to transition that into a rematch or against like one of the other sort of 135 hopefuls on PBC, maybe even against Edwin De Los Santos, who
Mm.
upset Jose Valenzuela over the weekend. So that might end up being his next opponent, and if so, that'd be a
That was
great
a
fight.
bit. That was a bit vicious, wasn't it?
Yeah,
I got to
very.
show that action because I thought this guy was like everyone picked Valenzuela, but my man came out and just tore him up. Tore him up. I had better action than that. He tore him up. Yeah, I mean, Pitbull Cruz is definitely knocking on some doors at the moment. Welcome into the chat, Mohammed. Ryo got sparked. Yep.
Messed up
So,
my accumulator as well.
so that's pretty much where we're at. Charles Martin was on the undercard. He won via KO against Devin Vargas, but we ain't going to talk about that. We ain't going to see that because That was a nothing fight. The return of Abner Mares, and we all know what that was all about. Did not look impressive to me.
Well, he did for the first 3 rounds.
Okay, give him that. But after that, I'm like, I think my man wants to go back into retirement. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, there was no gas tank there. He was good for 3 rounds, and then he'd be good in those 3 or 4 round exhibition fights. Maybe obviously you could say there was ring rust because he's been out of the ring for like 3 years, but yeah, there was a distinct lack of match fitness. You know, you can do all the training you want in the gym, but like they say, there's nothing like the real thing. And ultimately, he was he was blowing from like the end of the third or the end of the second round actually. So
yeah. Ronin says Rayo Valenzuela always fights like that, but this time he ran into another big puncher. Hopefully, he learned something because he's a fun fighter to watch. Yeah, you know, the kid's young. He's got more time to come back again. You know, it's kind of like when Amir Khan got dropped and dealt with by Brady Prescott. You know, we was all thinking, here we go, the best thing since sliced bread, and then boom, world fell apart. But just goes to show, you know, don't let a loss be the end of your career. You can still, you know, do great things even after that point. You know, it's a learning curve. It's a learning lesson for him. So that completes our talk up of last week's action. Let's start talking about this week's action coming up. Wow, what a weekend we have. Do you want to have a chat with Dan?
if he wants to.
All right. So we have a WhatsApp group, and yesterday on Monday Night Smoke, there was a little bit of tit for tat between Fight Fan TV Danny and our own BaseDaKID about who would win between get it up. Oh, wrong one. There we go. Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall. So I said, well, maybe we should have that conversation on here. So we're going to have a little short interlude where we're going to invite Dan in. So I hope you're around, Dan. I'm about to send you the link. Let's just see. So while we're doing that, Base, talk to us about this card. What's on your mind? What's entertaining you?
What, the entire card or just like the main two?
Bro. Go in on it.
I mean, you gotta act like I know every single person on the card. I actually don't. But look, I've had my reservations about the quote unquote all female card. I don't want it to be looked at as some kind of novelty thing. But there are, you know, is a chance, I guess, to highlight quite a few of these sort of up and coming fighters that Sky and Boxer are going to be working with. So on the actual undercard itself, there's 3 fighters that I'm actually very keen to see. One of them is Ginny Fuchs, who's actually a training partner of Michaela Mayer. I'm interested, obviously, to see what's her name, Caroline Dubois, as always, and Lauren Price and possibly Ebony Jones as well, because she's, even though I don't find she's like the most hardest hitter, she's always a very entertaining boxer. So yeah, I'll have to get to those fights. It probably won't be in the actual arena because I won't get there until later on in the day. But yeah, that's my thoughts on it. The main 2 matches are what they are.
Cool. So welcome, Danny. How you doing, brother?
I'm okay, you know. And yourselves?
I'm well.
Can't
Good
complain.
to see you. So guys, if anyone's not following Dan, go check out his YouTube channel. He's got a new video just dropped a couple of days ago. Fight Fan TV Live on YouTube. Also has a presence on Instagram and Twitter. So without any further delay, it's time. So generally, I think the feeling is, Base, you think Savannah Marshall wins. Danny, you think Clarissa Shields wins. I listened to your argument yesterday, Danny, and I absolutely think you've got a very valid reason to put that viewpoint forward. I think it's very salient. I think it's well structured. So just give us a rundown of why you see Clarissa Shields winning.
The reason why I'm picking Clarissa Shields on Saturday night is for the fact that I think she's faster, she's got the better skill set, but mainly where people tend to underestimate Clarissa Shields' power, it's not that she doesn't have power, because when you see her fight, anytime she hits her opponent, they always back up and they seem to go on the run a lot. It's when she tries to finish them off, she starts throwing these arm punches. It's similar to when Deontay Wilder tries to finish a punch. You see when he throws combinations on the rope, it's very horrible and he never actually finishes you off throwing a combination on the rope. He gets you down with the one-hit quitter, whereas Clarissa doesn't have a one-hit quitter, but she stuns them or hurts them and they go into retreat mode. Even when you watch that amateur bout, which has now been posted by Sky Sports Boxing, you see Savannah on the retreat, which I was talking about yesterday, but everyone was thinking, oh, she can't back up Savannah, but you saw her clearly backing Savannah up. And in the last round, she rocked her quite badly, if you saw that third round on their fight.
Cool. That's good point. So, Base, what's the retort to that?
Okay, so I'm not gonna directly retort his points, but without going into too much detail, because obviously I've got to have some content for Base's picks over the weekend. Right, here's where I kind of see the difference between the two of them. Ultimately, like, Clarissa is the faster of the two. We can all agree with that. However, what I've noticed about Clarissa in a lot of her fights is that she will, when she gets into range, she will, in the first couple rounds of any fight, she will be smart. She will use head movement. She will be, a proper level change, like, those Americans, like how they actually teach. She will get in and out, and she will outspeed her opponents. There's a lot of them where I don't think she's probably got the power over them, but she's manages to be accurate to start with. One thing she always does in every single fight, you can check every fight she's got, she will stay in the pocket too long at some point, and it's usually around sort of round 3 to 4, thinking that, okay, now's the time for me to maybe step on it. And as Danny said, she will throw those arm punches, right? So when she's throwing those arm punches against someone like Savannah, who now, we have to remember, the amateurs is one thing, yeah? However, Clarissa is probably a lot more like her amateur self than Savannah is at this point. That whole, the big intangible here is Peter Fury. Peter Fury has transformed her whole style into a way that she now is able to fight on the front foot, on the back foot, and side to side. Yeah, at times she gets hit, but she never gets hit clean. She rolls everything, and she fights as an orthodox fighter in a southpaw manner, which is something that Clarissa probably has never faced before in the pros or even in the amateurs for that matter. So when it comes down to Clarissa sitting in the pocket for one of those times, which she's going to do, she's not going to be on the run or fleet-footed for the entire fight, because she does get tired. At that point, that's when the two of them are going to have to trade up. And Savannah has better accuracy than Clarissa does. Clarissa throws those arm punches, and they just wherever they land, they land. Whereas Savannah, whenever she's throwing, whether it's within combination or whenever she's punching in between the punches of her opponent, she gets them in the spot she needs them to be at. And the fact that she turns over her shots correctly at all times is where the danger comes for Clarissa. And Clarissa will get unsettled by that, and then she's gonna go into a mentality where she's now gonna try and go toe for toe, because she's a typical, like, a catty type scrapper. She's a bit like Crawford. If you hit her, she's gonna do everything she can to hit you back before going back to the game plan. So as soon as you tag her clean, she's gonna lose her composure to get to you before she then comes back to working in the game plan. That's how she got knocked down by Hannah Gabriels in her third fight. and that's how she's going to ultimately get herself in trouble over the weekend and possibly get herself stopped.
So considering that you said you wasn't going to retort.
Oh, I haven't given you everything, and I haven't retorted to what you said either.
My man
I've
came
told
with
you
a lot of stuff. My man came with receipts from fights. Bro, Base went in.
Yeah, I've got some receipts. I've got some receipts too. Okay. Now, when she got dropped by Hannah Gabriels, who, by the way, Carissa's been in with heavy hitters, who's now the current light heavyweight and heavyweight champion, Hannah Gabriel. So, you know, heavy girl. So now let's talk about Claressa Shields' career. Her debut was at 168 against the current 168-pounder super middleweight champion, Franchon Cruz Dezern.
Undefeated. Yep. Don't forget that. Undefeated. Undisputed, yep. Sorry. Undisputed champ.
Sorry, that's what I was trying to get at. Yeah, because I was at that fight in the T-Mobile Arena with Ashley Fiafane. That was on the undercard of Andre Ward versus Sergei Kovalev 1. So I was at her debut, Claressa Shields. So she beat, so she's the current 168-pound undisputed champion, who also beat Maricela Cornejo twice, yeah, the original Ebony Bridges of weigh-ins. She also beat Ellen Cederoso in her sixth fight. Yeah. In her sixth fight, she fought Hannah Gabriels, who is now, as I said, the current light heavyweight and heavyweight champion, who was going into the fight with 18 wins, 11 KOs at the time. Savannah Marshall now, her first 8 fights was at super middleweight, never fought for a world title at super middleweight for some reason. Her 2 fights outside of the UK, in the USA for the male promotions thing, and also in Bulgaria, both went to points. So the 2 times she's fought outside of the UK, both went to points, which Claressa Shields brought up. In the amateurs, she also got beat by little Laura Price, little 5'5" Laura Price. As you saw, Savannah also is quite easy to hit. You say she's not easy to hit. She actually is quite easy to hit. When she fought that African lady, what's that African lady's name?
Anita Mazea.
Yeah, you saw she was getting touched up. It's only she managed to wear down the African lady, and that's when the body shot started getting. And I do make you right that on the inside, Savannah is more accurate with her punches, where she's doing the arm punches, but on the outside, Claressa is very accurate, and I believe that in the first few rounds she'll be darting in and out, and then it's when she does, as I kind of said yesterday, I think about the 4th round, that's when she'll go in the pocket, and that's where the danger does lie, which you said. But I just think that she'll be pushing Savannah back, and Savannah, I just think mentally, when the going gets tough, I think she has that crack in her, because she just doesn't strike me as the most confident person. And I just don't think, and there's a reason why she never fought for a 168-pound title. And she's always fighting opponents on 2, 3, 4 days notice.
Okay,
and first of all, last point, Hannah Rankin was on The Fight Is Right, and she's fought both women, and she even predicts that Claressa Shields is going to win because the skill set. Savannah is quite slow and languid. She's like a Huey Fury type fighter with a bit of power, but I just think she's just too slow and too easy to hit.
Right. Wow. So am I retorting that or what?
Yeah, so that's Danny's second round. So come in with your second round retort, because I don't believe you're gonna turn around and say that's not a retort, my friend. And by the way,
first one was just me laying out my
championship trophies on the line.
You know that's staying in your house. Right. Well, okay. So the 2 bits that you said, right? So the reason she didn't fight for a 168 title is because there was none available at the time. One thing you have to remember is we're talking about 2017, 2018, around those times, right? Mm-hmm. Right. She had no. This was after she left. This was after she left Floyd, because she was with Floyd to start off with, and then obviously. Oh,
she only dropped to 160 in 2020. Hannah Rankin was her first 160 fight.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I said 2018, 2017, 2018, right?
And 19.
Well, part of 19, but that was COVID times. That was COVID times. But she was with Floyd initially, right? And
Yep.
then she had no promoter after that. So
She
how
had
was she? Huh?
Yeah, 3 fights in 2019.
You're not listening to what I'm saying here. And bear in mind, I wasn't like talking over you throughout your whole thing. So,
No, sorry.
right. So, as I was saying, so she didn't have a promoter or a big promoter that was able to get her into any of those fights. I actually have it. She did try and fight. What's it called? The girl that what's her name? Franchon Cruz fought, the Argentinian. She tried to get a fight with that girl and was actually told that basically the girl wouldn't be ready. And then ultimately somehow Franchon ended up fighting her, losing the quote unquote belt because that was supposed to be an eliminator for the two of them. She lost the belt to her, but then the girl was on PEDs and then she ended up getting the belt back afterwards. So after that, she's like, okay, well, there's no real things up here. So she moved down to 160. All right, cool. So this is around the time, because remember, she started in 168, same division as Clarissa, called out Clarissa. Clarissa moved to 160. All of a sudden, so she moves down to 160. Clarissa decided to move to 154. And you can check the timeline of all of this. So this is all correct. Clarissa at this point then was talking about she wants an insane amount of money for what the women were getting paid at the time to face Savannah Marshall, right? Then when Savannah's obviously called her out after the Hannah Rankin fight, Clarissa then said, I'm going to MMA. They treat us better than the boxing scene does. And she was quite happy to do the MMA thing. And at that point, she wasn't talking about Savannah. As soon as she got beat in that MMA fight, that's when the money wasn't the same, and she had to come back to boxing. And the biggest fight she could get now was going back after Savannah Marshall, to going back to 160 from 154. Now, can we both agree that in their trajectories of their fights, Savannah was here, Clarissa would be there, and then she would move down the division, and then Savannah would follow her. And then when she got to a division that Savannah wasn't able to make, she was quite happy. She was quite happy down there until the MMA stuff occurred. Now, if you want to talk about the fighters, hold on, because you talked about having every single fight on 2, 3, and 4 days' notice. That's not correct. There was only 3 fights that she had where the people were on short notice, and they were last minute replacements. That's not Savannah Marshall's fault. She can only fight who's in front of her. Yes, she did have a mental fragility back in the day. She's admitted that. That's something that is, yeah, you could say, oh, she let her country down. She's like, okay, cool. Back then, it was either I was gonna win the entire tournament, I wasn't even gonna qualify. That was her mentality, because that she just wasn't in that mindset. Her mindset's been improved because her coach is everything. As I said, the difference between the two of them is Clarissa Shields looks virtually the same as she did as an amateur, where Savannah doesn't. That's the big difference. So the person that Savannah, remember, I've watched the fight. It was a close and competitive fight, but Savannah won that fight. But that's not the same person who's going back into the ring now. So if Clarissa is thinking, oh, well, I remember this person. I remember I was about to get on top. That's not the case, because this is a totally different person who has a lot more dimensions to her game now than what Clarissa has. Clarissa is pretty much the same person with maybe a bit more angles than she had before. Savannah's a totally different reincarnation of a fighter. So whatever game plan you had to start off with, you've got to work that out on the fly in the ring. And like I said, she's going to do well for the first half of the fight. But at one point, she's got, as you said as well, she's going to trade up and she's going to get caught. And when she gets caught, that's when we're going to see if either she can take those shots and keep coming forward and possibly break Savannah's spirit like you're predicting, or if her spirit's going to get broken like Raw. Okay, she actually hits a lot harder than I thought. Damn, let me now have to back off. She won't back off. She'll stay because she's delusional enough to think that she can bang with a banger. Whether even if from the outside, she might have the shots. She might have the good shots from the outside, but she's going to think I can get you on the inside as well. And if she gets tagged, she's going to be bold enough to try, and that's going to be her unraveling, as I said before.
Yeah, but as I said...
Stop there. So you both had 2 rounds each. We're going to call this the 3rd and final round.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get to that third and final round, guys in the chat, I want you to start typing and let us know which of these two combatants is currently leading this battle of ages over who's going to win this fight. This is enthralling because in the chat so far, there is absolutely no doubt that there's a difference of opinion split halfway between you guys. There's 50 of you watching. Guys, tell us, who are there? If you got BaseDaKID winning, has he convinced you so far? Or has Danny switched your mindset now to thinking, he's brought the receipts? So put it in the chat. Before we go to round 3, I'm gonna show you this little
Savannah,
bad boy.
is this personal or is it just business?
It's just business.
Clarissa?
No, a little bit of both. A little bit of both. I don't like her. But I just can't stand a fighter who haven't accomplished nowhere, not even half of what I've done, and talk the way she does. Coulda, woulda, shoulda, but didn't.
So, shoulda, coulda, woulda, but didn't. Because that is the crux for me. All this hyperbole about you could have done this. And listen, one of these women has got the accolades, has walked the walk, and now can talk the talk. The other one can say as much as she like, but I ain't did jack in comparison to that quote. Yeah? So for me, I'm leaning with my boy Danny and Claressa Shields. And personally, I like Clarissa anyway, so I'm going to be a bit biased, I'm honest. But guys, let's see what the chat is saying. G-Chain says, Danny is winning this 100. Buster Move 78, welcome. Base is up. A-Obs, it's a deadlock. Championship round will decide it. Reese Jones, base is up. G-Chain, great scrap so far. Declan, just me buffering. Final round, ding ding, let's go. Robert Brony, base is up on the cards, but I'm still not convinced Marshall wins this. Thomas Ridley, it's close. I'm back in base and Savannah Marshall. Rowan Perry has it 20-18 to base. 2 rounds to none. Gentlemen, keep it clean. Last round, ding ding, Danny. Actually, no, let's reverse the order because I need to let base go one more time, and then Danny, you can finish it.
Okay. All right. Here's one thing whereby if we look at this fight, it's gonna be, I guess, who cracks, right? Because we're gonna look at the mentality of both people. So one thing we know about Savannah, as we've established, is previously she's had a fragility in maybe not being the most strongest willed, not willing to maybe go through the fires as such. But it looks like that's been corrected as of late. Yeah. So let's look at Claressa Shields and her psyche. Now, one thing that she has is she has a lot of, well, here's the thing. She has confidence, or it appears that she has confidence. I think a lot of what she's doing with Savannah is over talking her and downplaying her actual lack of confidence in this particular fight. If you listen to a lot of the things that she's saying, whether it was in the press conference or whether it was even in the face-to-face, there's a lot of things that she said. There's some truth, but there's a lot of things that make no sense. Right. So she said to Savannah Marshall, everyone you fought has been bums. Who have you beat? Who have you knocked out? Right. Well, clearly she's knocked out some of the same opponents that you fought and gone the distance with. That's a factual statement right there. All right. All the people you fought are bums, right? So if they have some mutual opponents, does that not mean that you were then fighting those same bums? Which then does that not downplay your actual level of accomplishment? Because if she's fighting bums and she's fought some of the same people you fought, then both of you are fighting bums, right? That would make sense to me. Okay, so then she's talking about, you know, oh well, I'm gonna get the knockout. I'm looking for the knockout. I'm gonna get the knockout. Now, as hard as she might hit, we both know. If you look at her record, there's nothing about her record that suggests that you are the puncher in this fight. So it's like everything she's saying, she's like trying to project her own insecurities onto Savannah. Even when she talks about everything, she's like, okay, well, you ain't done half the things I did. I've got Olympic gold medals. I'm a 3-division champion, 2-time undefeated champion. That's very true. But who were you fighting in the amateurs in those weight classes? They were barren weight classes. So yes, it was good that you done what you done, but they were barren. There was no one up there. There's still not even people up there now. 6 of the belts that he fought for were vacant. They were vacant titles put on the line. There was no champion. She's fought 2 champions in all of her 12 fights. So everything that she's saying, like it's all like, projecting that you're this big bad, you're this GOAT, but there hasn't been a test for you yet. This is literally the only test you have. There's Savannah and there's possibly Mary Spencer, who she did beat in the amateurs as well. But if you look at their fight, it would have played a little similar to how the Savannah Marshall fight was. But she again got stuck in the pocket in the 3rd round after peppering Mary Spencer for the first 2, caught several really hard shots. One of them wobbled her very badly, even with the headgear on. So that again shows you her mental. She's got a delusional mindset. Part of it might be to mask insecurities. Part of it, I think, is obviously she's just that arrogant to believe that she is as good as she's saying. But when you check everything, it's like, well, if you're saying that Savannah is so bad at everything and she's slow and she only fights bums and stuff, but she's fought the same people that you have and dealt with them better than you have, then what does that really make you and your accomplishments? That is my point as to her mental instability in this. She can't handle a lot, and that's gonna be her downfall. She's gonna do something that is out of character because she's way too emotionally invested in this fight, and that's where I'm gonna leave it.
Thank you, Base. Very, very eloquently put, if I may say so. So, Dan, this is your time. Close the show, my brother.
Yes. So to go over some points that Base made, when she's talking about you fought bums, she's talking about the fact that by the time Savannah's got to them, Clarissa had already dealt with them years prior, and they racked up probably a few more losses before. Also, the couple of opponents they have shared, I'm sure 1 or 2 of them was on short notice. They didn't get full camps like they didn't get the same full camp like they did for Clarissa Shields. Let's keep
7 weeks.
No, there wasn't. No, there
7
wasn't.
weeks. Check it.
Femke Hermans was not 7 weeks. She didn't.
Yes, it was.
No, she didn't. I remember the opponent changed because it was meant to be that German woman first. It was meant to be the German woman first, and they swapped it. They swapped it round. I remember that, and you know it, Base.
5 weeks.
Keep it a buck. Let's keep it a buck tonight.
That one was 5.
Huh?
That one was 5. It was 5 weeks out. They swapped that. But again, change your opponent. What do you want to do? Is that hurtful?
Savannah talks about, all right, it's so hard to match. The fact of the matter is that there's a reason why she's only won one belt in these 12 fights. Also, I just think at the end of the day, Clarissa, and also another good thing is that Clarissa witnessed Savannah knock out that the last opponent, Femke, because that now is going to make Clarissa a lot more alert, and because she's seen the power. And Savannah's been a banger actually since the amateurs. Because I remember when she fought at the Royal Lancaster Hotel against one of my Lynn girls. What was her name? Genevieve Brozard. She's from New York City. Ruth Rapier, Chris Congo, Obed, a lot of Sam Mullins. They were all in attendance. So Savannah's been a puncher from the amateurs, and Clarissa has tasted her power as a 17-year-old fighting a 21-year-old woman. So she's tasted that power. So she knows she's got power, and she was able to deal with it and still back her up. And I just believe she's got, even though and I think sometimes you do need that delusional mindset, because when you have that delusional mindset, you're able to do things you wouldn't be able to normally, which a normal person wouldn't be able to do. And I just think that will and persistence beating resistance is going to be the overcoming factor of why she beats Savannah Marshall, who has shown fragility. And once you're fragile once, you can always revert back. Just like Mike Tyson, he used to cry in the changing rooms as an amateur, punch holes. Yes, he used to knock out bed brothers, change the game. But once that going got tough against Buster Douglas, once that going got tough against Evander Holyfield, a cruiserweight, you can always crack again. And that's going to be the deciding factor, brothers and sisters.
Woo! Thank you, gentlemen. Wow. That was a true battle royale. Travis, if you're in the chat still, you got to give us a little say about what you think about that, because in all of our Monday Night Smokes, I honestly say that's one of the best battles we've seen. Yeah.
I want to reply to Robert Brony. You talk about head guards. You see, now this is one thing we've got to break down. Now, me and Tony, we can tell you, head guards don't save you from punches. In fact, punches hurt more with head guards because it compresses your head. The punches actually hurt less when you've got the head guards off. The reason why you have a head guard is for the back. If your dome hits the floor when you get knocked out, that's the only protection. It doesn't protect you from temple shots. It doesn't protect you from the chin. It doesn't protect you from cuts, and it doesn't protect you from getting a broken nose.
Amen, brother. Amen. So, guys, thank you very much. That has been an awesome rundown. The panel have said their piece. Guys, you can go away. You can think about that. You can watch the footage. The guys have given you all the receipts necessary for you to be able to research and find out what you need to know. You know, I certainly am excited about this fight. Dan, you're going to be there, right?
Yes, I'm going to be there in attendance. And yes, Robert Brony, yes, it is an interesting point, but this is also a factor. Chris Eubanks Sr. even broke it down that this is why in the gyms, most of the brain damage gets done in the gym with big gloves and headgear, not in the fight. Why? Because it compresses your head and it mashes, it wobbles your brain. So it actually hurts worse. There's a big pad at the back of the head guard just to stop your, when you get knocked down, drop. That's the only thing that it protects you from. So don't think headgear is some kind of pillow cushion. It's not.
Yeah. So yeah, great back and forth. According to Becca, Base, you're the winner. Robert asks, are the gloves the same size in women's amateur boxing?
Yes. Yes. There
you go.
Are you there in attendance, Pugilist?
I should be there. Yeah, I should be there. So guys, great take from both of you. I think I might have to watch this again because there's some great points to put up. I know I'm going to hope them guys in our WhatsApp group get through this and we can maybe follow this up with some of the after chat in our WhatsApp group. Am I going to talk on the Fury AJ situation? I'm going to leave that. I know if you haven't watched it already, Travis and KG did an extra pod yesterday or this morning on it because it was kicking off as the Monday Night Smoke was happening last night. So they've actually gone in and done an extra pod this morning, only about 15 minutes long, but they had to jump on it because it's warming up. We won't go into it because we've well overcooked our timings, but what I'd like to do is just talk about the other main event, co-main, and quickly get you guys' view on Alicia Baumgardner against Michaela Mayer. I heard some interesting views on that fight last night on Maestro's show. If you haven't already signed up to listen to Mano a Mano featuring Maestro A, then go listen to his show. It's great. Go on, Dan. Give us your view on the Baumgardner Mayer fight.
Yeah, I think this fight has been quite under promoted. It should have probably taken place in America, but this is a very good fight. It's a clash of two different styles. The obvious being the tall, upright boxer who's not really a puncher, but very good skill set, but good amateur pedigree, versus someone who's more pro-like, likes to throw power shots. Good on combinations as well. I watched that clip that Base put in, sent to me. I think it was about 6 minutes, where Alicia seems very revved up this week. Her potty mouth is is quite something to be seen. But you know, sister, you need to chill out a bit. You know, you need to chill out with the language. But I understand it's fight week, and she's probably all tense and pumped up because her arms are looking like Randy Savage at the minute. But yeah, I've got Baumgardner winning on points. I don't think she's going to be able to take out Michaela Meyer. Michaela Meyer seems quite stubborn, even though she comes across as quite goofy. I think she's got a good resolve about her, and she will have good spells of making it difficult for Baumgardner to nail her. But I believe Baumgardner's work rate will be the deciding factor on a points win.
Interesting. So, Base, what's your feelings on this fight?
All right, I have to state now, I cannot in good conscience give any type of prediction or feelings of this. I am too emotionally invested. Everyone who knows me knows I'm part of the Baumgardner squad. What I will say is that she's got everything riding against her in this fight. So if this fight goes to the distance, she doesn't win. That's the only thing I can say. I'm not going to give my prediction at this point, but that's all I'm going to give to you guys. If it goes the distance, she's not winning this. It's a Boxer Sky ESPN card. She's the only one that ain't signed to any of them. So take that how you need to take that.
Cool. So guys, listen out for Base's picks on Friday. That will give his rundown and reasons for who will win over the weekend. Danny, you gonna have a little show this week?
I've got a podcast, but it's gonna feature Clifton Mitchell. We're doing that on Friday after the weigh-in.
Okay, cool. We'll look out for that. Me and you might do a late Insta at some point, maybe, if you got a bit of time. Yeah. So guys, that's it for today. We've had a very good show. We've run down some amazing action both last week and this weekend coming up. Are there any other cards that we need to talk, just mention are on this weekend? That's it, yeah? Just that one big card?
I haven't seen any others, so.
Okay. So, yeah, but listen, there's going to be, the boxing calendar is full. The boxing calendar in September is full. We've got Denzel Bentley against Morrison. What else can you see on there? Joyce against Parker. Shakur Stevenson. We got Triple G against Canelo. Can't see what that middle one on the right is.
Weatherman one.
I'm not sure what that is.
Oh, isn't that a series? Isn't that like a? But where's the Lara Wood fight? Where's that fight?
That's in October, isn't it?
No, it's the same date as Joyce Parker, 24th.
Oh, okay.
Which is a piss take because I would have gone to both.
Okay.
But I can only go to one.
It's on this one. Oh, yeah, there it is, top corner. So, yeah, loads of action. Eubanks Ben coming up. AJ, Bivol Ramirez looks exciting to me. Haney Cambosis. So yeah, guys, we have got 3 months of action coming up that are just phenomenal. I mean, the start of the year was amazing in terms of what we saw action-wise, but the end of the year looks to be just as exciting in terms of what fights we'll have seen from July onwards. So, guys, hope you have a lovely weekend. Enjoy the action on Saturday night. And we will see you again next Tuesday. Danny, thank you very much for coming on. Any last words, guys?
Just to say that, as you can see by those cards, a lot of people try to talk about, the takeover of, MMA and all that. As you can see, boxing is live and kicking and is nowhere near deceased. We are not reloading the dryer on matches after matches. And big shout out to BaseDaKID. Make sure you check out his Fem Files and all of his good content. Make sure you check out Tony Pugilist as well. And thank you guys for having me on. Peace and love.
Appreciate it, guys. Take care, guys. See you soon.